Chief, I think they need you.
That was an emergency call. I wonder what happened.
I'd better go.
Hey, Chief, you got a cold?
You could say that.
John, take care of yourself.
Thanks.
This is going to be interesting.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a dork with a few old games.
Since when did this show have a narrator?
Hey, since when did you learn to shut up? Anyway, where was I? Anthony, feeling somewhat nostalgic, decided to take a look at an old game that he collected in a sort of holiday special, you might say. You like the peanuts and...
Alright, I get your point. Alright, so tonight we're going to be looking at something that's very special to me. It's one of the reasons why I got into retro gaming to begin with, the Sega Saturn. Now, I didn't grow up with the Saturn, obviously. I'm not that old. But it was one of the first retro game consoles that I started collecting. But thanks to life, rent, and finding a short film, my old Saturn and my Genesis had to go. But that won't stop me from buying myself a Christmas gift, considering I've been responsible with my money this year.
You spent rent on what?
But enough about me. Let's take a look at why I started collecting this system to begin with. To start off, the Saturn story got me interested from the start. A 32-bit console that was mainly a 2D powerhouse when 3D games were the norm, the fact that Sega released it without any hype, and a good chunk of the games never came out in the West, something obscure, something weird, that's what got me hooked all those years ago. So I knew I had to treat myself because this year was, that. This small haul of games cost me a little over $300, which is a lot more than I originally spent for my Saturn years ago. I got 4 games, a third-party controller, which is actually pretty good for what it is, and the most important thing if you're getting a Saturn nowadays, an action replay card. Didn't have this when I first got my Saturn, but I can tell you this is super important to have considering that it's a memory card, a cheating device, a RAM card for games that support it, and it takes out region locking on games. Thank God. So with that being said, let's take a look at the 4 games that I have here today. Now these won't be super in-depth reviews that you're used to with this channel. Instead, this will kind of be more like a first impressions kind of thing, even though I've played these games before. So let's get started. Alright, so let's take a look at the first game, which is, yes, Virtua Cop. This arcade port of this beloved game was one of the standalone games for the system. I remember having the long box release of this thing years ago with the gun and a CRT so I could actually play it. If you're wondering why these games looked like they did, they originally came in a sort of 3-in-1 release that came with the Saturn back in the day. The third game being Daytona USA. These 3 games are common Saturn games over here in the West, so I'll be happy to get the long box releases sometime later. Anyways, back to Virtua Cop. The main problem with playing a retro-like gun shooter nowadays is the fact that the gun will not work on an LCD TV. Now, I don't know the science behind all that, but I know people have been trying for years to try to make these games work with modern displays, so for the time being, we'll use the controller. Which, isn't that good. Like hitting the speed up button so the cursor will move faster, it still feels very imprecise sometimes, so I keep missing things. It doesn't feel as precise as using an actual gun in the game, which is definitely a lot of fun, I can tell you that, but I would not recommend playing this game with a standard controller, unless you got used to these controls like me years ago. But if you have the Saturn gun and a proper TV, then I would highly recommend playing this game. It's short but sweet, and doesn't outstay its welcome. It also paved the way for other light gun shooters, including House of the Dead, and I absolutely love that game. If I could find it in an arcade, if there's any arcades open right now. The world sucks right now. Next game in the lineup is Virtua Fighter 2. What's considered to be one of the best games on the system. This game receives a lot of respect and praise from everyone, and it's okay. Alright, just let me explain here. Alright, so Virtua Fighter was one of the first 3D fighters to be released in arcades and home consoles. It was limited and chunky, but still innovative at the time. So when it came to making a sequel when there was already some competition with games like Tekken and Battle Arena Toshinden, does anyone actually play that now? Sega delivered in making one of the best looking 3D games in the arcade of its time. Now porting it to the Saturn, a system known for being an absolute nightmare to produce when it came to making 3D games, was a hard task. But it paid off with one of the most successful and best looking games on the system. Now how does it play? Well, I was never that good at fighting games to begin with, and with this game's case we only had 3 buttons to be concerned about. punch, kick, and block. And by doing a combination of these attacks, you could do some special moves, depending on the character. Which, I didn't really know how to do any of them. I was just kind of spamming punches and kicks, to be honest. This game also has ring outs to end matches, which I find it kind of funny when the character just flops on the floor in defeat when they get out of the area. I'm sure if I had a friend over, this game would be a lot better. Or maybe if I had some more time to get a handle of the controls and to know some of the special moves, the game would be great. But for the time being, I'll go back to playing some Soul Calibur 2 if I'm playing any 3D fighter. Damn, I love this game. As for Virtua Fighter 2, it's easy to pick up and play, but it takes some time to master, so it has some good accessibility going for it.
I never understood why in these early 3D fighters everyone jumps like they're on the moon or something. Like, could you imagine if someone jumped like that in real life in a fight? That'd be weird.
Alright, next game. So since I have an action replay, I figured I should get at least one Japanese game, so I ended up getting this game called Deep Fear. This game, to my understanding, was made in response to Resident Evil 2 not being ported to the Saturn, so Sega took it upon themselves to make their own survival horror game to compete with other games at the time. So why didn't this game come out in the West? I really can't tell you, considering that the last Saturn game, Magic Knight Rayearth, I hope I'm saying that right, was released in November of 1998, and Deep Fear came out in July of 1998 in Japan, so they still had time to release it. Come on.
So the one thing I knew about this game is that the game would be in English, so I knew there wouldn't be a language barrier. I may have fucked up here.
Turns out it's only the cutscenes that are in English. The rest of the game is in Japanese, so I had to pull out Google Translate out on my phone, which didn't really help. Either way, I got far enough in the game to see some monsters and hear some really, really bad voice acting.
You mean we get to go in and check out the Navy's secret weapons with our own eyes?
Hey, this is no joke, Moogie. What happened?
We don't know yet. I asked Dubois, the designer, to come too.
Oh, there's no problem with my CFOX system. No accident should have occurred. Oh!
Mookie, go return Little Shark before the area is shut off.
What? I told you there's a monster down there.
Like, wow. The main character you play as is named John Mayer. Huh. So this is kind of an origin story. So before he was a platinum-selling singer-songwriter, he killed a bunch of monsters on the bottom of the ocean. I'm just fucking with you guys. So this game plays like a typical survival horror game of the time, tank controls included. Which, to be honest, wasn't too bad for me, since I'm used to games like that, but I'm sure it's a problem for someone who's not familiar with that. The game pretty much uses every single button of the Saturn controller to full effect, which is pretty cool. You have a button for your map, different menus for items like health potions and weapons. I'm pretty sure if I play this game long enough, I'll get past the language barrier. If there's any way I could possibly change the text to Japanese to English, that would be awesome, but I'm sure that's not possible. Or I could just buy the European release, but that's about 3 times as much as the Japanese release, so yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. The only real problem I have with the game is the fact that there's no quick turn option, which I know wasn't common yet, but it still looks very awkward to turn my character around. It's almost like a rotisserie chicken, you know? That being said, I'm coming back to this game, cheesy voice acting included.
Whoa, your boyfriend? Just kidding.
Huh, I wonder what happens if you played a game without the action replay cart.
これはセガさん用のゲームディスクです。
The hell is this shit?
ゲームのデータが入
Can't even do anything. Alright, I may have saved the best game for last here. This is a game that I've wanted to play on the system for years, and I finally got a copy, so I'm really excited. The game in question is Bug for the Panzer Dragoon!
Alright, so this is one of the big games that's on the Saturn, and to be honest, yeah, it lives up to the hype. It's a unique rail shooter where you fly on a dragon's back shooting things that are trying to kill you. There's a unique story with a language that no one's ever heard of. Huh. It has a lot of CG cutscenes, and yeah, they look like shit today, but they were great for the time. This game was a launch title for the system, and it showed off what the Saturn could do in this simple-to-play game with very interesting controls. It took me a minute to understand that you need to tap the L and R buttons instead of holding them to rotate yourself, because enemies in this game will not only attack you forward, but also from side to side and behind you. It's kind of chaotic at first, but once you get used to the controls, this game is absolutely fun to play. I also thoroughly enjoy the music. I don't know if they actually got a full orchestra, but damn, the theme song sounds great. I only played through the first 3 levels of the game, considering that this boss over here gave me a little trouble, but I'm happy to play this game again. Maybe I'll play some of the other games as well and review them, and... oh Jesus Christ, never mind. Panzer Dragoon Saga's $1,000? Maybe in the future. In the meantime, I'm gonna try to get to level 4.
Overall, I think this was a pretty good investment. Like I said, this is kind of like a first impression sort of video with these games, so maybe I'll take a look at these games in the future. You never know. But yeah, I'm really glad to own another Saturn, not only for the sake of YouTube, but to also add to my collection, so I won't have to think about the past failures of my life as a person, and instead be distracted by some old video games. Happy holidays, guys.
And so Anthony discovered the true meaning of Christmas. It's not about friends or family or giving things to people. No, it's about playing video games. Alone. By yourself in your studio apartment. Wait, what? Who wrote this crap?
Get the fuck out of my house.
Thank you guys for watching. This is kind of a different video from the usual format of videos that I do. So if you like this, please like it, subscribe, you know, the usual crap, and comment on any games you want me to review. Oh, and I have a Discord page as well, so if you guys want to jump on that, please do. You know, if you want to interact with me or any of my fans, that'd be awesome. Planning on doing something a little special in upcoming weeks, and I'm going to be needing some people for Discord for that. So, yeah, there's that going. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe, and have a happy holiday.